Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, afternoon, or evening. Where are you out there? I don't know, but as we record this, it is noon 06, Wednesday, July 16th. It's the summer of 2025 here. I'm your host today, JDew, and I'm joined today by Miss Audrey Forka. Audrey is now in the process of the save and spend system. And she's kind of new to our community, but is budding and aspiring to be a coach in this arena of infinite banking. So we're having a conversation with her as a part of her training for getting up close and personal with what we've got going on for everybody out there. So Audrey, thank you so much for joining me.
It's my pleasure, JDew.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for
So
having me.
yes, let's take it back. How in the world did you get invited to this world of the Matrix, the red pill, the blue pill? Where did you
Uh,
stumble upon, as they might say, this type of information that we are in, which becomes the save and spend system here at the Cash Compound with our plethora of educational and coaches who help us go through that journey of infinite banking? What's your story? How'd you get here?
well, I've always wanted to ensure that I don't leave my family members stranded. Should I not be here? And I've had life insurance in my life from a young age, from my 20s. As I've grown older, I learned from different industries or from different people, friends and colleagues, that there are other ways to use life insurance, not just when you die. And I started digging deep to learn more about this. And I came across Brett YouTube message on how to use your life insurance as a banking tool. And I found that fascinating. I said I need to learn more, and I certainly did. And actually established an account about a year ago for myself, and I thought this is something that other people definitely could use. So I wanted to learn more and reached out, found you, or at least saw you at one of the conferences during your presentation in Nashville. I wanted
Mhm.
to come to attend that conference. Actually, I missed it. My schedule wouldn't allow it at the time. So I thought I'll reach out afterwards, and here we are.
Very good. Okay, so many people need a complete paradigm shift. You hear that term from us and others who teach this concept to people because banking is so far removed in their brain from transactions, from
Right.
investing that they're normally doing. So, what type of paradigm shift did you go through, or how long did that take as you started to hear there's a way to use life insurance in life for banking, something maybe you hadn't thought about much?
Well, watching Brent's video, and then there's another young man online. I forget his name. He mentioned that he gave another example that life insurance is a tool that can serve multiple purposes,
Hmm.
such as our cell phones today. It's a tool in your hand that you can use for photos, a workbook, communicating. It's all in one, and your life insurance could be that. And I said, oh, I mean, that's a thought that never crossed my mind. So when I established this, having gone through school, I've reached the top of my educational goals. Of course, going through that, you accrue a huge amount of debt in the
Hmm.
process. The debt just you pay it, it never goes away. So okay, there has to be another way to try and pay this off in a manner that is not as painful, or at least doesn't take forever. And I thought this would be the ideal method to do so, and hence
Yeah.
I
Now,
started
when
the
we
account.
here in our office, when we first saw this information, infinite banking concept, becoming your own banker, the save and spend system is now what we call the whole process. It was focused on debt payoff, debt reduction was a major part of um, kind of the introduction. And that's different from some people how they get introduced to it. They get introduced to it as a retirement tool, maybe.
Mhm.
You can draw dollars from it or borrow against it, that type of thing. Maybe they're introduced to it as an investment alternative for that style of banking, where you can become the bank and leverage for maybe real estate and investments and things like that. But some people, and the average American out there, Audrey, like you, just has plain debt. They are just trying to get out of the hole. So tell us what type of education that you got, what type of debt that looked like for you, and what type of profession that you're in. So everybody should be in two businesses, the business in which you earn your living and the banking business. So the one that you earn your living, how much debt did it actually give you as you got into the workforce?
I am a doctor of nursing practice. I've been in the nursing industry for about 16 years now, actually 16 to 18 years. I previously worked in public relations, did that work and then retrained or retooled, having to go back and retool in your 30s took excess amount of money. I'll say for the moment, when I started, I had about $150,000 in debt. Of course, when you're done, as you continue to go to school, the debts sort of are suspended. And then once you're done, which I did in 2022, um, all the payments came due. At least I had to start paying up on them. It was just astronomical, just the amount of money that I have to pay. I mean, I'm earning a fairly decent income, it appears, but a good chunk of it is just going out to pay student loans. And I thought there has to be a better way to this. Um,
Let me ask you a question that often comes up in my mind on a personal level. I went to college. I did not accrue the average amount of debt. My debt was less than, it was right at $10,000. So it was way less than the average person. I only have a 40-year degree. But when I hear about people doing six figures, they've got that six-figure debt with no
right.
house. You know what I'm saying? They got that house payment with no house. Um,
Right.
$150,000. I think to myself, did you know that was coming? How did you understand? Because I did not know that the $10,000 that I owed at the end of a bachelor's degree, it struck me by surprise about 3 weeks before I finished school. I was mad. I mean, I was pissed on, as we might say,
Oh,
to do something about that because I didn't have any money, nor did I want a job. That's a whole different situation. But I was like, how am I supposed to not have a job now that I'm done, sick and tired of all this school and all this work? I don't want a job. But when you have $150,000, I mean, did you know that was coming? Did you understand? For me, I have a hard time understanding that because there's no way I would have done it.
yeah. I mean, I knew it was coming because I mean, you're going to the FAFSA, they give you education. There are sections that you have to complete to be aware that once you're done with college or whatever level of education you're going through, 6 months after you have to start paying up on your payments. And of course, the more you go to school, to some degree, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let me continue school. So long as I'm in school, I'm not responsible for this. But I have to take a loan to complete the schooling. And I said to myself, when I'm done, again, nursing is it's a respectable profession, it's a fulfilling profession, and I totally enjoy the work I do. And then as a nurse practitioner, upon completion, I have a private practice where I provide services for children and I say children and families across the lifespan with mental illness. So it's a fulfilling work that
Yeah.
I do, and I think it compensates me well. And then another, as people will say, the arbitrage where I wanted to do this is that okay, if you serve in a needs-based area, community, which I moved myself into a community where there's a great need, established a private practice, and with that, I was able to get about half of that loan forgiven, which was great. But I still have, out of the 150, I still have about 75. Well, actually, no, right now I have of my own, I have about 30,000. And then here's the other trick.
Hmm.
I have two adult children. Well, now they're young adult children on on their on their own college education. There's this thing called a Parent Plus loan that you take, and that becomes a part of your debt that just never goes away. All of the student loan forgiveness that I can apply for, it doesn't apply to that particular loan that I took out for my children. So it's like $65,000 of that I've had for them. Again, they have the education, they're working. That's something I chose to do. So again, that was my gift to them.
Okay. Well, I
And
wish
they're
it was a
earning.
gift. I wish it was a gift to me that I own the debt. I just want the payments. So that's what I am here to do, right? Take over the
Right.
payments in my
That's-
family for our cars, for our medical bills, anything like that that we can do, including education. So, what an interesting thought process. So, you are in the business of helping people already. And obviously,
Correct.
you just mentioned how fulfilling it can be to have a noble profession like that. So, explain a little bit more about that and where your heart is. When we help people in this educational environment for finances, it's also helping get people better. It's helping people move on to the next step. It's helping people see the light at the end of the tunnel. How are you doing that in your current work? And help us understand, oh, that's the heart behind it. Because I think there's a lot of people out there who don't understand why we do this. And they think we're just going to rob everyone and get rich.
No, that's well, that's quite far from it. Um, the way I see my perspective is there is no health without mental health, and a good deal of our stressors in life is tied to our finances. So there's really barely any life without good, sound finances. And being able to manage that together, I feel if I'm able to touch or impact the people that I come across on these two spectrums, I think I'll really greatly improve or impact, have great impact on their lives. If I'm able to help them maintain good mental health and then also help them figure out how to manage their finances in a way that gives them a great deal of relief, um, that would be a win-win.
Oh,
That would
yeah,
be
for
even more
sure.
fulfilling. Um, and there's one thing to earn money for those who have it and then not just be able to keep it because there are all these stuff that people feel they have to have. Um, and if there's a way to actually pay for it, as I'm learning through this infinite banking uh, education journey that I'm on now, it's just phenomenal. I mean, I've like watched the Nelson Nash videos. I can't tell you how many times. I have the book by audio. I've listened to it a couple of times. It's interesting. Some of it becomes quite technical for me because I'm making a brain shift from healthcare to finances, but it's something that I'm quite interested in at this time. And of course, again, working to save for the future for my retirement after I'm done paying all this debt, it would be something that I think is fantastic to know
Yeah.
more about.
Yeah. So it's tough for a lot of people. And there's many people who get into this as a business thought and they think, well, you know what? It's pretty easy to get a life insurance license. I've had one before. I was trained to be able to go door knocking or to buy leads or something like that. But we do so much more education here. And I know part of what you do as a nurse and as a doctor of health for people is you have to educate people on what's going on. Here's preventative maintenance. Here's maintenance that you can do day to day on that front. So, how do you have a conversation today? I know you're brand new to this idea, but how are you having conversations with potential customers, clients, or hey, just family about what's going on here and what you're doing? How are you starting those conversations?
I've not found my groove yet. I need to, and in the training piece, I'm looking to take do a 5 minute elevator pitch, which I've been trying to work on. But for now, when I meet people that I know, again, I'll first see where they are as far as their need for what their financial concerns are, and then ask, what are your thoughts about learning more about a tool that could help you, again, for one, protect your family should you
Yes.
not be here, and then could do a lot more than that, and see how interested they are in that conversation, in that question, and then go forward from there.
Now, many people that we know when we first start this business that we talk to are people that we've known for a long time. You mentioned your
Right.
children, maybe parents, colleagues, and things like that. You know, you have your bestie at work and things like that. And they don't know you for being someone who
It's fine.
understands finances and they don't think you're some sort of investing or savings guru. They know how much you make, so maybe. So sometimes this type of information can be really taboo. So did you grow up in an environment like that? Or is finances and income, is that an open conversation with your family and friends? And did you know how
Not
much your
always.
parents made
Not
growing up?
always. A select few. I've tried even with some of my colleagues and just said, okay, well, how long do you plan to work? Until I'm like, well, it's not work. This is education. Um, so I get lots of either weird looks from some people
Yeah.
when I approach them with that, or just they don't have to, I mean, they're not interested at this point, or that somebody had reached out to them about, either finances or insurance before, and they're not interested.
Yeah, it's right. I think a lot of people kind of overinflate what they think they'll be able to communicate to friends and family at the beginning, whether or not they're going to be a coach and educating people on it, or they're just someone who's using it, right? And they're going to leverage it for debt. They're going to get out of their current situation and move on to something better. And we kind of miss the mark at the beginning with a lot of people who we might know, and they know us and they respect us and trust us in different areas, but not this one in particular. So just wondering how that was as well when you grew up. So give us a flavor of how you thought about money. What was your relationship to it based on the household you grew up in? And maybe the way your parents dealt with money. Was it completely different from you, or is it like, no, this is the reason why I knew life insurance was such a great tool is because people around me did bring it up?
Um, my life is my journey is a little different. I mean, I grew up in the home where my dad took care of everything, so I just knew that things were taken care of and we were provided for, and didn't really have conversations about money. I mean, if you time to go back to school, you write your list of all the goodies that you wanted, and you gave a list, and you got money, and you went shopping. And then later on in my teenage years, I moved and lived with a cousin who, again, money was just totally taboo. He never had any money, and so that was a little on the stranger side. And then, of course, then moving out on my own, no, with away from my parents, and in essence migrating from Cameroon and West Africa to the United States. So, growing up with this cousin who barely had any money because he was working all the time, going through school, completing high school and then college, and knowing that I have to pay for all of this on my own. Finances were something where I suppose at that point I knew that there is a way you can work to earn a decent amount of money to live life, because I've seen my parents do that. Then I also know that there's some people who are always struggling all the time for one reason or another. And then with that understanding, I really purposefully searched for more information on how to ensure that I had a sound grounding financially, for myself, and then for the family that I was hoping, as a young person, hoping to build later on in life.
Yeah. So, a couple of questions for you as we get close to wrapping up this brief conversation, as we help people understand that we're expanding our team and we're looking for conversations with clients, with potential budding, aspiring coaches like yourself who are maybe very new to this. They love the idea, but they're kind of new to it. What is the best advice you've been given when it comes to money over the course of your life? You had that one conversation when you sat down with your grandmother, or maybe somebody at work or in college said, "Oh, you got to do this," or "You should do that." What has kind of stuck with you long term over the years? What were some of the best things that you were told, taught, or thought about money?
That's an interesting one. I don't I don't know that anybody's actually ever. I won't say my parent. My parents really, they never sat me down and said, "This is what you do to
Okay.
make
Yeah.
money." So
Do you,
I've
Now,
just sort
maybe
of.
you remember some bad advice. Maybe you did some very bad things. We'd love to know. Not because we're trying to make fun of you. We want to jump in this misery pool with you because we've all made mistakes. Any
I mean,
bad advice, bad things you've done?
over the years, I suppose, like saving, putting money in my 401k to be, again, once I started working, to be sure to save money to elect the 401ks, particularly if the company was matching, because essentially you're giving free money away if you choose not to save in the 401k. And then, of course, working with a company at one point where you could buy employee stock options, you bought that, but then the company tanked and nobody tell you, okay, you need to get your money out before the company, goes out of business. And however thousands of dollars that you invested with the company went out the window. So that was a horrible one. But saving in a 401k and then having a Roth IRA over the years. So you try and, at least I've tried to invest in all of these different things, having an HSA account. So those are some good advice that I've had from colleagues and people around me over the years.
Hmm.
And I've taken some of the advice, but then some of it learning now that, again, a good chunk of that, say with the IRA or Roth IRA and 401k, you're saving now, but then later you're deferring the taxes for later on, essentially. You're thinking, Well, the idea is you save now for later on when you'll be in a lower tax bracket, but that's not necessarily the case, because when you go to collect your money, and then when you go to collect your money, either then you're hit with all the taxes. And then what's actually really hitting me now too is in this whole training project, what I've learned is, again, with the 401k, all these other deferred savings that you do, they don't necessarily come out and tell you, okay, if you choose to, or you get in a tight bin and you need to access your funds, they're going to charge you a huge, exorbitant amount of fees just to take your own money. And then say if you should be later on, God forbid, you should be not, say if you're lucky and are gifted with funds, if you wanted to save, not touch your money after a certain age, like 73, you're forced then to pay a fee for not taking your money at the time when they say you should take it. So essentially you're saving all these tools, but someone else is controlling how you use money, how you access it. So that, to me, it was like, oof. It was really jarring when I've come to learn this.
Yeah, it's very interesting that it's so ubiquitous, right? Everybody's doing it, saturated, but nobody really thinks about it until they get to middle age and they're considering, well, how is this growing, or how is this going to cash flow for me? I'm starting to think about retirement, or my kids are out of the house. Let me take a look. And
Right.
it's very interesting. Yeah, well, here's another question. As we go on our educational journeys together, learning about wealth building, learning how money can work for us rather than we always do the hard work, and maybe money keeps escaping us at the same time because of all those interest payments for those student loans. What books have you read? What other podcasts are you into? What things out there should we be aware of that are the niches that you like? You know, I've read this book, or I like to think about it this way. I've watched this movie or this documentary, anything like that, some resources that straight from Coach Audrey that we can be thinking about for the future.
Oh man, now you've got me in a bind, and I have to look. I've looked at finances. Oh gosh, I can't think of the exact title. Finances on a doctor and health, nurses, and so again, as healthcare providers, sometimes we make really decent money, but not know how to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really conscious on making sure that whatever I earn, I'm living below my means. Um, I've read some other books on Look Before You Lurp, which is LIRP.
Yep. I know of that one.
Again, I've consumed all the Nelson Nash's thing, a good chunk of Brent Kessler's YouTube videos, a good chunk of you guys' The Laser Fun by, names escape me, I'm terrible.
Sure.
The Laser Fun.
I know of that one.
That one. There are a few others. I can't think of them right now.
Okay. Very good. Well, Audrey, it's great to have you starting this journey with us, joining the team, and continuing your education as you start your second infinite banking style policy. Right now, we look forward to working alongside with you and helping you get to the place where you are one of the best students out there, so you can become a great teacher and coach to many other people.
You are now tuned to the banking bros. Said we couldn't make it, drink or settle, this the life we chose. Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer, we taught you how to be the bank.